This video explains how to do an annotated bibliography. Annotated bibliographies are research tools that will help you reference your research as you write and help you remember, compare, and understand what you've learned as your research continues. It's a good idea at the beginning of each semester to start an annotated bibliography for every class that requires a researched paper, or, even better, to have running annotated bibliographies that relate to each of your academic interests. Annotated bibliographies are made up of citations and annotations. An entry into an annotated bibliography begins with a citation, and below that citation includes three things: a summary of the source, an analysis of the source, and comments on how you plan to use the source in your writing or any other notes you might want to set as a reminder. I've already covered citations in another video, so we'll jump right in with summary, but click here if you need a review. Once you've found a source you think you want to use, skim it to see if it meets your expectations and is relevant to your research. After that, read it, and I mean really read it. Look at the charts, read every word. Spend some time learning the material. Reading an abstract and reading an article aren't the same thing. It would help if you took some notes. I recommend Cornell notes or outlining. For a great example of a personalized note-taking system based on Cornell notes, check out this video from YouTuber Mariana. As an aside, develop your note-taking skills. You'll be glad you did. Once you've read the article and taken notes, take a break. You'll need it. If you start writing immediately with the source's words fresh in your mind, or while looking back at the source, you might accidentally copy a few words or their sentence structure. Accidental plagiarism is still plagiarism. After your break, write your summary. Use your notes and your memory, and without looking at the source, try to cover the main ideas, major arguments, and any interesting details you remember. Finally, check the source again to see if you missed any major points, and to include any quotes that you might want in your paper, properly attributed, of course. Next, you'll need a paragraph on analysis. This part requires you to critically think, so you won't be able to just sit down and write it. Evaluate the source. Make judgment calls about its material, whether you think it is good or bad, has a fresh angle, or is merely an old idea dressed up to look new. Record your thoughts on the source, its material, its structure, its arguments, and include why you think what you do. Also, make sure to think slowly. There's a reason people say they're digesting information. It takes time and is a slow, gradual process. Have a conversation with a friend about your source. Go for a walk and think about it. Try reading the article a few more times if you're still stuck. I discovered something when I started teaching. The first time I taught a story or a poem, I felt like an idiot. The second time, I felt like I had a few things figured out. And the third time, I really started to understand it. The fourth time, I started finding new things. Spend time with your source, reading and thinking about it, and analysis will get easier and easier. Finally, comment on how you're going to use the source. This is based on the specific paper you are writing, and it explains how the source is relevant to you. You might also make some notes about the section of your paper you want to include this particular information in. A great way to use information from a source is to put it in conversation with another source. Using one source to comment on another generates ethos, or credibility, by showing you've done your research and by borrowing from the reputation of the researcher whose ideas you're using, and, of course, properly citing. This also allows you to comment on existing academic conversations between other scholars in your field, and it makes your work all the more relevant. Finally, here's an example annotation that I've done. My citation is highlighted in green, my summary in yellow, my analysis in blue, and my explanation of how I'll use it in red. Pause the video here and read through each section to see how I've broken down my source. This concludes our video on annotated bibliographies. While they are hard work, they're great research tools, and I'm confident you'll find they make writing easier and better.